It's rather funny how Republicans think they don't have to obey the law, even though they claim to be the party of law and order. They create a congressional map that makes it impossible for black people to actually have a decent vote.
Well, a possible constitutional crisis could be developing in Alabama after a panel of federal judges rejected Republican arguments for not complying with an order from the Supreme Court. The GOP has refused to create another congressional district where black voters are a majority. Nicole Killian is on Capitol Hill with more on this pretty interesting story. Nicole, good morning.
Yeah, absolutely. And one that a lot of folks are tracking because this could have significant implications for both parties, given the narrow margins here in Congress and redistricting challenges in other southern states. In a court ruling Tuesday, the judges said that they were deeply troubled. Alabama's GOP-led legislature failed to comply with a Supreme Court order to create a second majority black district. They wrote the law requires the creation of an additional district that affords black Alabamians, like everyone else, a fair and reasonable opportunity to elect candidates of their choice.
Though, you know why the Republicans are doing this? Because they're racist and they hate black people.
2023 plan plainly fails to do so. An independent court-appointed official will now redraw the map for next year's elections. Secretary of State set an October 1st deadline to finalize a redistricting plan. Alabama's Attorney General plans to appeal, which means this case could end up right back at the Supreme Court. Anne Marie.
The people that have failed to follow the order by the court should be either disbarred from their position or put in jail, because any other person that fails to abide by court orders are put in jail.
I don't know what happens when a state defies a court order from the Supreme Court. That's supposed to be the final word. So then, if this case ends up before the Supreme Court again, how might that play out? I mean, they've already heard the arguments and come to a conclusion.
Yeah, well, this is a legal battle that's been going on for some time. And basically, the Supreme Court initially ordered Alabama to redraw its map because it didn't hold up to the Voting Rights Act. And so the Supreme Court upheld the Voting Rights Act, which bars discrimination. And in essence, you know, Alabama was ordered to create this second black majority district because the state population, African Americans represent about 27% of the population right now. There's just one district. And so what the state legislature ended up doing was increasing the percentage of African Americans in this second district, but it didn't necessarily create that majority district. And obviously it's kind of controversial because, again, you have a Republican state, Republican-led legislature that is drawing these lines, but yet, you know, if there is...
Those people should be punished for disobeying the law. I don't care if they're, you know, officials of the state. They're breaking laws.
Is this second majority black district, of course, that could potentially lean Democratic. So that's kind of where there's this issue with the parties. That's why many members here on Capitol Hill are kind of watching this closely, because potentially that could mean possibly opening up an additional seat for Democrats if this second black majority district were created. And so, of course, as you know, the margins are very, very slim here, where Republicans in the House in particular literally just have a few seats. And so that is kind of the power struggle that is going on, bigger picture, but legally, of course, if this ends up back in the Supreme Court, you know, it's hard to see the Supreme Court going against the Voting Rights Act when they already ruled to uphold it by ordering Alabama to redraw this map. So now we'll see this court-appointed official. They can draw up to 3 maps. Of course, they can be challenged. So this could potentially be tied up for some time in litigation, Anne Marie.